What is up, my friends? Thank you so much for joining me here today. I am so excited to talk about meditation and what was unlocked when I meditated for 225 days straight. It absolutely opened up so many possibilities. Now, a lot of us talk about meditation in the sense that it reduces stress and anxiety, which is definitely one of the benefits. But today I wanted to tell you about things like anti-aging and lifestyle design. There were so many amazing things that came from this, but more importantly, I'm going to show you not only what happened, but why meditation does this. So this will be a little bit of teaching as well. And I'm going to give you some instruction on how. Make sure you hang out until the very end because you're going to love this episode. Okay, before we dive in, I have a request of you. I need you to reach that button, that subscribe button, hit that thing, slap that thing, punch that thing, do whatever you need to do to be tuned into this channel, because if you're interested in money, mindset, and motivation, I'm your guy, and I can't wait to be dropping knowledge and value to you week in and week out. So how the hell did I get started on this 225-day kick of meditating? Well, back in about 2020, when we had all that time to kill because of COVID, I also found out I had some extra time when the time changed, the daylight savings thing where you get an extra hour in the fall. And I thought that'd be a really good time to invest that into things like learning, visualizing, journaling, meditation. And that's what gave me a little bit more extra time to spend meditating. And I had this really cool app and device. It's called a Muse Brain Sensing Headband that actually tracks your meditation and guides you. And what happens is you put this little headband on and it senses your brain activity and tells you how active your mind is or how calm it is. And you have headphones in and you hear some birds chirping if things get a little bit more calm. If it's getting a little bit more active, then you'll hear some clouds and thunder. So it really helps you guide your mind so that you can try to get a little bit more of a peaceful state as far as your brain activity. And what it does is it gives you a streak of how many days you've been meditating. And I had been doing this for a while, but I started to really enjoy meditation because I was just starting to feel so good. And what happened is I went on a 225-day meditation streak, and I didn't even plan on doing that. And the only reason why it ended was because I went on vacation one time and I forgot to bring this Muse Brain Sensing Headband with me. So that was the end of my streak. But what unfolded after that was so incredible, and I can't wait to share this with you. And like I said, I'm going to break down what happened, 4 distinct things that happened from this meditation time, but I'm also going to tell you why scientifically that this really helped in those areas. And then I'm going to give you some really cool tips on how to do this, how to implement this in your own life. Okay, let's dive into benefit number 1. Okay, most people will tell you this, that people who spend a lot of time meditating actually have a reduced level of stress and anxiety. Now, I'm here to confirm that. I don't want to dive too deep into this because this is something that you hear about that is very common. But the reason why I believe that meditation helps with this is when you spend time just letting your mind wander a little bit. And like a lot of people have this misconception that with meditation that you have to be focused in one area or you can't think about anything. Like your brain is designed to be thinking. And a lot of people stress out about that. Here's the thing is you've just got to be a little bit more aware of your thoughts and give yourself some time to cool down. Now, your brain is the most powerful supercomputer in existence, and it's processing a lot. Back in the old days, in the prehistoric times, we didn't have to think about as much stuff as we do now, but we're being hit from every angle. So many different things coming at us at once. There's a lot of things that bog down the system. And if you think about a computer, imagine having 10 windows open or 20 windows open and 15 different apps going at the same time. That's pretty much what's happening to our brains in the modern times. And what happens is it starts to create stress. The stress isn't actually from doing things, it's from thinking too much and trying to process too much. That is what causes cortisol to drop in our body, and that's the feeling of stress, of overwhelm, of anxiety. And the first biggest benefit from meditation is you give your brain a chance to catch up. So if you take 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes per day, it starts to let that stuff, all that data, all that information that is being processed in your brain to do its thing, to go in the right places, to simmer down. And it's kind of like closing out some of those windows on your computer, and it allows your brain to focus more, to be more efficient, to let that stress die down. So that's the first biggest benefit of a consistent practice of meditation. Now, a lot of people don't give it enough time. They start meditating and they do it for like a week, and I didn't notice anything different. Okay. So I had a streak of 222 days of meditation. So that's a long time to build this habit, and a long time to start to actually see the results. But I'm in a very high stress environment. I've got 3 kids. I work in sales. I create content. I do coaching. I have a business. I have a lot going on. And so meditation, by taking this time to allow my brain to cool down, significantly reduced the amount of stress that I was experiencing. I used to have to even see a therapist, and all that disappeared when I embraced a consistent habit of meditation. So here's the first thing when it comes to reducing your stress is please give it the time to do this. You will not see results overnight any more than going to the gym for a week and expecting to have a chiseled body. This is something that you need to cultivate a habit of. And if you do, you will reduce your stress and your anxiety and feel a lot less overwhelmed. Okay, let's dive into result number 2 from meditating for 225 days and beyond. This one's good. So the first benefit I talked about was reduction in stress, because you're giving your mind a little bit more room to process and let all that information circulate through your brain a little bit better. Here's the other thing, is it will start to give you more clarity. I always hear people say, well, I just don't have time to meditate. I am so busy. I've got so much going on. I cannot take time out of my day to meditate. Here's the thing, is not only are you reducing stress and anxiety, but when you remove that time that is spent stressing and full of anxiety, you're actually giving yourself more time in the day. So it's kind of like an investment. So if I spend 20 to 30 minutes per day meditating, that makes me about 3 times more efficient, because I am not spending as much time stressing, overthinking, and worrying about things. I can take that time and reinvest it back into what I want to achieve, what I want to accomplish. So again, we're trading that stress, that anxiety, that overthink. We're taking the time and energy and reinvesting that back into ourselves. So we're getting a gain. You've got to look at this like an investment. You put in time into meditation, you get more time out, because you're spending less time stressed and full of anxiety and overthinking things, reinvesting it into a different area, but also you have a lot more clarity. You're able to see things with a lot more focus. So you're getting a double benefit when you embrace a consistent practice of meditation. Okay, benefit number 3 of a consistent practice of meditation. This one is so good. I can't wait to share this with you. It is anti-aging, or slowing down your aging, or even reverse the aging process. In a second, I'm going to tell you why this happens. And this is not bullshit. This is not like woo-woo made up stuff. This, like, you can look this stuff up and I'll tell you exactly what is going to happen. Before I do that, I just wanted to let you know what happened for me. So when I first started getting into meditation, I heard of some people who were able to actually turn back the clock because they would have less gray hair after a consistent practice of meditation. For me, that didn't necessarily happen, but I'll tell you what did. So I've had gray and silver hair ever since my mid-20s. I am just about to turn 49 years old. And I didn't notice like any of my gray hair necessarily going away, but I used to not have long hair because it would be so wiry and so coarse when I started getting more gray and silver hairs. Now, what happened is my hair started to smooth out and be a lot more silky, as they like to say. And I started growing my hair to mid-length, and it, sometimes I have it almost long hair, and it just feels so great. It doesn't like stick out. It doesn't feel coarse. It doesn't feel wiry. It feels like I've actually aged backwards. I still have gray and silver hair, quite a bit of it, but it does have the same texture as when I was younger. Okay, another thing that I noticed is like I used to get like these, they call them aging spots on my arms and hands, and I started, to get worried about that when I started noticing those. They're all gone. I've lost all of my aging spots that I used to have on my hands and on my arms. It's amazing how that happens. But most importantly is my energy levels. So I wake up every day about 5:45 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm so pumped up and ready for the day. I do not use an alarm clock. I am just ready to go. I have pretty consistent energy levels throughout the day. I may take a cat nap around noon, but other than that, I feel so much energy. I can't believe that I'm 49 years old. I feel like I'm 25. Now, let me explain why this happens. So, your DNA, your chromosomes, they look like little, like a matrix, a little helix that are twisted up, right? Like a shoelace that's twisted up. Now, at the end of your DNA, there's what's called telomeres, and they kind of look like little caps to shoelaces. And what's happening over time as you age is these caps, these telomeres, start to wear down. And what happens, this is what the aging process is as your DNA is duplicating or replicating, it's starting to lose some of the frequency inside of it. It's starting to replicate and just kind of like start to decay, kind of like a machine, right? A machine that's being worn down. As it's creating more and more stuff, it starts to wear down and break down. That's what's happening with your DNA. But those little end caps, the telomeres, what happens with a consistent practice is they've noticed with people who have been long-term meditators, and you can think about some of these great gurus like Deepak Chopra. He's like, I think in his 80s, and he just looks amazing. He looks so good. Well, what happens is it starts to keep those little end caps, those telomeres, intact. And, as you age, those things have a tendency to grow shorter and shorter and make it a little bit more difficult when the DNA is replicating. That's where some of the decay comes from. But people who consistently practice meditation, they have done studies on this. You can look it up, telomeres and meditation. You'll find some articles that show that there are people out there that have been studied and their telomeres actually stopped shortening or even grew in some instances. So that is... I'm no scientist, but that in a nutshell is the reason for why some people experience anti-aging or slowed down effects of aging when they are consistent at meditating. Now I'm going to jump into the last and final result that I got from a consistent practice of meditation. Okay, number 4 is the ability to manifest your dream life. This is going to be some cool stuff. I was so excited to share this with you, but here's what it comes down to is when you meditate, your brain waves slow down. Okay, our brains are so active, and there's a lot of good benefits to that. We can process more, but it turns us into thinkers, right? We're always trying to think and process things. And what happens is that creative, lucid side of us, that dreamer, like when we were kids and we're like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be president of the United States. As we age, like our brain is spending less time in that lucid state. That's called the theta state. Beta and alpha is when your brain is highly active. And as adults, we're spending most of our conscious waking hours in an alpha or a beta state where the brain is extremely active. And meditation helps you cool that down. Now, when you get into a theta state or what's called a delta state when you're asleep, your brain waves slow down immensely. So meditation is kind of like that in-between state. You've all been, you've all experienced that time where you're like driving your car and you're going a long distance and you start having all these good ideas and you're like, yeah, that'd be so cool. I would love to do that. I'm going to create a new business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a rock star. And then you come to, right? You hit your destination and your brain starts thinking again. And then all of a sudden you come up with all these reasons why that's not going to work. You start to place judgment on your ideas. That is that transition from the theta state into an alpha or beta state where you start becoming more rational, so to speak, and these ideas that you had are all crazy. What meditation does is it puts you into that theta state. If you get good with calming your mind, and again, I talked about the brain sensing headband that I was using, that actually tells you when you're extremely calm. When you are in a calm state, that is a perfect time to start creating your future, to start thinking bold, start thinking bigger, and finding a way to play a bigger game. So what unlocked for me is being in sales. I had this crazy idea that I was going to break the all-time team record for sales on my team. And at that point, I was maybe, like 2/3 of the way there as my best year ever. As soon as I started meditating, I set the intention that I'm going to break the team record. And everybody was like, no way, that's not going to happen. It's, that's like adding 50% of business to your book, to your sales book. And that was just like something that was unheard of. But as soon as I set my mind to that, and I started putting that intention into my meditations when my mind was in a theta state, the answers started coming. So downloads, they call these downloads, like when you're meditating and you start to come up with these good ideas, you've got to remember that this is the very highly creative side of you that has access to your entire subconscious mind. And when you come to, what's going to happen is you're going to start to place judgment on those ideas. Now, you need to allow yourself to run with some of those downloads. You need to trust yourself, trust your intuition, and trust all that information and data that is in your subconscious mind, because when you are meditating, it allows that stuff to come to the surface. Now, this is really cool. You can also use theta state to unwire some of those limiting beliefs, some of those beliefs that we've got from society or from our parents or from other people, or our scars, our wounds, our fears. When we've been rejected, that's what creates the limiting beliefs that hold us back. We are all limitless beings. But when you tap into this state during meditation, this allows the true you to come to the surface. This allows all those amazing resources to come to fruition. So on top of that, I was able to create a business, start a podcast, function on a much higher level, create the life that I want. And I think since that time, I have probably quadrupled or 5x'd my income from when I first started this 225 days of meditation. And like I said, it's been beyond that, but I've carried this on because I've seen so many amazing results. But financially, like my relationships grew, my relationship with time grew, my family and my connectivity with people has just exponentially grown. I have grown younger, right? I have less stress. I can't understand why somebody wouldn't do meditation. So anyways, that was the last result, is I was able to create a beautiful life, income-wise, time-wise, and accomplishment-wise through my consistent practice of meditation. Now, next up, I'm going to give you my exact strategy for meditation. I'm going to tell you what I do and how I do it, and then I want you to unlock a new level of living your best life. Okay, here's the part where I'm going to share with you some tips on meditation. So there's a million resources out there on how to meditate. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. And people totally get hung up on this. They're always overthinking this. They're always worried that they're doing it wrong. Here's the thing. Like I said before, your mind is designed to think, and to shut that off is like telling your heart to stop beating or your lungs to stop breathing. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some space. If you need to, start small. Start with 5 or 10 minutes. Now, that isn't going to do like all the stuff that I'm talking about, but what it can do is help you build the practice of investing some time into meditation. And like I said, it's an investment. You're going to have to give something, but you're going to get something in return when you invest in meditation. Now, what I love to do is I love to meditate first thing in the morning. There is a reason for that. Okay, I could meditate in the middle of the day, but what happens in the middle of the day is your brain is so highly active that it's going to be hard to bring it down into that theta state. Now, when you're asleep, that's when your brain waves are the least active. That lucid state, when you're starting to wake up and you're starting to be a little bit dreamy, that's when you're already in a theta state. So what's the best thing to do if you want to tap into that is to meditate first thing in the morning. You could do it when you're drifting off to sleep at night, but you've got a whole day of brain activity that's behind that. So I would recommend doing meditation first thing in the morning. If you need to, start off with 5 to 10 minutes until you have that habit built and start to grow from there. I really think you'll see the effects when you have a consistent practice of 20 to 30 minutes per day. Now, for me, I'm not trying to not think. I'm just letting my brain wander. I'm trying to experience the feelings that I want to have, that my future state will have. So I'm trying to experience that in my body. I'm starting to think about what I want in the future. Like I said, your brain is in theta state, so it's very malleable, and you can be very intentional about setting what you want in your life. That could be a goal, that could be a future, that could be characteristics that you want to embody. But basically, this is a doorway to your subconscious, and you can spend this time basically reprogramming yourself for success. And when you have your subconscious on board, it makes everything easier. Another thing that I like to do is I like to meditate with music on. I love trance music, which is a type of electronic dance music. I keep it kind of chill. And what it does is it creates like a visual, like almost like a movie inside of my head of what I want to accomplish and what I want to achieve. Plus, it creates some emotion inside of me. I think music can be a very emotional thing. And what we want to do is bring us into that state that feels really good and tie it to the future that we want to create. Now, another suggestion that I think you could do, you don't have to do this, but if you want to do it exactly like I did, I would look at investing in the Muse Brain Sensing Headband. I'm going to drop a link to this in the notes. you can go purchase this, and this will help guide your mind from a very active state to a peaceful state. Like I said, you can put some headphones in, and you'll hear birds chirping as your mind starts to relax and your brain waves start to slow down. If your mind is a little bit more busy, then you'll hear some thunder and some clouds in the distance, and it'll get a little bit more stormy. But this is a great resource for you to use technology to help guide you to meditate better. Please don't get hung up on it. Like, if your mind wanders, that's totally okay. One way I heard of a good way to focus during meditation is kind of like putting a cat on your table. The cat's going to start wandering off, and all you need to do is reset it to the middle of the table, right? That's kind of like your brain. You just kind of reset it and focus on what you want to focus on, or try to let some of those thoughts drift where they are. But try not to place too much judgment. I think one of the biggest benefits of meditation is it kind of gets you out of the jar, and it gets you seeing your thoughts. You're stepping outside of your thoughts. So this is what mindfulness is all about. Anyways, those are my tips for how to effectively meditate. I would love it if you would leave a comment and tell me what you've been doing for meditation. If you've experienced any of these results, let me know. I want to have a conversation with you. And certainly, I don't know everything about meditation. I'm just sharing what happened on my journey, and I want to hear from you. Again, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I would love to be here for you week in and week out. I will catch you on the next video.